Choices Matter, an organization dedicated to teaching kids about driving safely, held a presentation at Nokomis Regional High School today. Keenan Mills was there.
Whether it's driving impaired, texting while driving, or not wearing your seatbelt, Choices Matter travels to schools across the country to teach students about safe driving.
Mainly, I want them to understand that the choices they make matter. Your choices you make today can have consequences for your tomorrow. And understanding that no matter what you go through in life, adversity happens to everybody, but it's not what happens to you that defines you. It's how you respond to it. So long as you respond in a positive manner and keep a positive attitude, you'll be able to accomplish any goals that you've ever wanted to do.
All 7 Choices Matter speakers were either victims or the cause of a crash. Fletcher Cleaves was a college football player when an accident cut that dream short.
Managed to get a full scholarship. Then I became paralyzed due to a lady texting and driving. And then the latter part of the presentation is just the overcoming adversity part.
Students also have a chance to take part in impairment exercises and speak with the presenters. Choices Matter staff say the impact is seen every time.
Students share their own stories afterwards. They talk about, family members that have been involved in instances like this, or, even family members that might be addicted to drugs or driving while under the influence or distracted driving and using their cell phones.
According to Choices Matter, there's a need for programs like this in Maine due to driver's ed courses not being directly connected to public high schools.
So that's something that really is missing in our schools, and a lot of our students really can't afford to go through driver's education. We don't have stipends and scholarships across the board that allows them to do that.
These presentations are free to schools thanks to a grant from the Maine Bureau of Highway Safety. There's still time for schools to sign up. A link for that can be found on our website. Keenan Mills, WABI News, Newport.